Welcome to episode 13 of the Talkin Pop podcast. Without question, I don't know about you guys, my most anticipated episode of this show ever. I've never been more excited to do an episode and have a discussion with you guys. This is why we started doing this. This is why we created this show. This is why we created this channel, is to go and see a movie like Spider-Man No Way Home and then just absolutely geek out about it after the fact. I'm so excited. So stoked.
I mean, you can see that like the background that I normally have is a little different. And the reason why is because we're recording at a completely different time of day than we time of week, because we couldn't wait. We couldn't wait any longer. So yeah, this was an emergency. Get online, let's get this done episode because there's too much to say.
It took me a solid 20 minutes to get the lighting right. I look like I was a glowing angel because we're doing this during the day. We normally do it when the sun has maybe started to set. My God. Oh my God. I'm so excited.
Right.
I don't know.
So Brad, go ahead. High level thoughts. What did you think of the movie? Tell us.
Well, first of all, this was the true comeback to the theater movie. I think a lot of people were anticipating that this was going to be. There was a lot of other movies that were trying to grab at that title, whether it was Tenet or James Bond or whatever, and all great films, but it was like, it didn't have that je ne sais quoi. It didn't have that thing where it was like people were like, you're talking Spider-Man t-shirts, you're seeing people wearing Spider-Man costumes. There was one kid wearing a legitimate Spider-Man costume walking in. People
I saw a few of those.
There was a dude in my row watching the previous movie on his phone to lead him into the next one. And I was like,
oh my God, that's epic.
That's intense.
That's epic. That is
well
hardcore.
Played, sir. Well played. I told him, I was like, good for you, man.
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah. That's awesome.
He's like, I think he said, I need this. But listen, I felt emotional. I've said this a couple times, but I felt emotional going into it. And then even sitting there and seeing everybody, the full theater, everybody's buzzing, everybody's chatting, and you could tell. And then that opening scroll of Sony comes across and everybody goes, yeah, it was like, yes, this is what you want. This is what I wanted. This is why you go to the movie theater. Anybody that says, oh, watching movies at home is the same, I'm just going to say it. Fuck you. It's not accurate. That's not accurate.
Brad, I have been somebody who has said, I don't hate watching movies at home.
Well, it depends, but not movies like this.
No, but yeah, it makes a huge difference when you're in a packed theater, and everyone is super excited. Kelly,
yeah,
we'll go to you now. Your thoughts on the movie,
or
just your excitement overall.
I was just gonna say, there's gonna be a lot of divulging here.
I loved it. Never in my nerdiest dreams did I think that a movie like this would ever exist. We're going to get into it, but just what they were able to bring together, the people they were able to bring together, and in a significant way as well, not in a way that felt dictated by actors' schedules and things that really surprised me, and we'll get into that. I think what I'll say is, are there things about this movie that you could get into a rabbit hole being like, but wait a minute, did that person actually know this? And does this plot hole make sense? And does this, there is that, but you know what? This movie's so good. Who cares?
Yeah,
exactly.
Just don't think about it too much. I do not judge this movie with the same lens that I would other movies where I'm talking maybe about character development or, the plot and the hero. This movie just has everything going on that just go in and enjoy the ride. Don't think too hard on it. Just marvel at the
Zing.
At what they were able to bring together here. This is just unbelievable. I can't believe this exists.
I'll do you one better. Spider-Man No Way Home Run.
I'm gonna go.
I love this movie.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. Okay, so I saw this movie, the first available screening of it to the GA here in Canada. So I saw it at 3:30 p.m. on Thursday, and that was the first GA screening you could go to.
Yeah.
Right.
This theater was like a concert. Like I'm not kidding. Like
Yeah.
people were erupting. Like it felt like there was a buzz in the theater when I sat down in there, and everyone is so excited. Like this was like the nerdiest of the nerd Spider-Man fans who were in this theater. You know why I love this movie? And I could say the same thing about the Avengers movies. The character building and the world building is done and out of the way.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
you're just jump in and it's boom, 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 boom. We're going here. We're doing stuff. We don't have to worry about why is Peter here? Like, we don't have to worry about that. Like, that's all been done. If you haven't seen the previous two movies, that's your problem. Like, it's like, and that's the same reason why I love the Avengers movies so much is we've done the character work. Now this is just like 2.5 hours of just nerding out nerd scenarios.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
yes.
I love this
scenarios.
Nerd scenarios.
To me, this is in the discussion of greatest comic book movie of all time. Like it really is. Like this is in there with Endgame. This is in there with Dark Knight. This is in there with Logan. Yep. Like this is in there with like greatest comic book movie discussion of all time. All right. Let's jump in and do a bit of a deep dive now on certain aspects. I've highlighted some certain things I want to talk about. So obviously, you know, the movie begins like right where Far From Home left off. And everyone knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. We go through, like, I did like the way they kind of just like went through this really quick. Like we didn't spend too much time like being like, oh, now he's in court. Like we didn't get like a court scene or anything like that. Like I like how we just kind of blasted through that because that's not why everyone's here, is to watch him struggle in that regard. No, we did get the first and only look at Matthew Murdock, Charlie Cox returning in a really fun scene where he catches the brick coming through the window and says, I'm a really good lawyer. One thing I wanted to table to you guys, and I think we'll learn more when we see the finale of Hawkeye this week, but I think these are the same actors playing the same characters, but I think it's going to be a bit different. I don't think they're going to necessarily bring that canon in to Marvel. I think they may allude to it, but I also read on the weekend that there is some sort of legal matter around the fact with Netflix where like they can't necessarily like Netflix owns that basically owns that story.
Right.
So I just from the way it's, and I could be reading way too much into this, but like just from the way his hair looked to the fact that his glasses were bright red to the like it's
glow up.
I do think it's going to be like it's the same guy playing the same character, but I think we're just gonna kind of do away with that like Netflix world and these are them now within the MCU. Your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is we're all going to just jump into a world in which these two characters, Daredevil and Kingpin, have a past. They already know each other. There's some beef there, but I do think like, even though, and we're going to get into all of it, this is one of the darker movies that we've seen in the MCU, like the top 5 darker movies that we've seen in the MCU, which I love. And, but it's still too light compared to those Netflix shows. Like
those were dark.
You guys know that, you know, it's been we're getting back into like COVID world here in Toronto. So I've been doing lots of binging on Netflix. I've watched all the Spider-Man movies and now I'm watching Daredevil again. And I just can't imagine a world in which, you know, we have a scene where Kingpin's taken someone's head off with an SUV door. Like it's just too much for this world. So I'm with you, Rob. Like these are the characters. We're supposed to all know who they are. Like, it's not like we're going to introduce them and do an origin story again, I don't think. But I do think that this isn't the same Daredevil who fought the Punisher. And like, like we're gonna dispense. I know, but we're gonna dispense away with some of the things that are maybe a little too R-rated for Marvel, because I don't think Marvel's quite there yet.
Yeah, I think that that's a fair point. I think what's really interesting though is that Netflix did such a good job. It felt to me like Marvel almost had like no choice but to bring these guys back. And legal issues be what they will, and even to the point of where Disney was having to deal with Sony and massage out the wrinkles as far as what they were doing with Spider-Man, it was like they nailed it. Do you know what I mean? Where there was a lot of doors left open when, you know, Disney bought Marvel and they were like, hey, either these characters hadn't been done or they got screwed up or whatever. And so there was a lot of room for re-navigating the characters and bringing them in. You can't watch the Daredevil Netflix show, and Feige, there's no way he watched that show and went, oh, we can do better. Oh, we can recast this. He went, no, that's our guy. Mm-hmm. Charlie's our guy.
Well, so you would have had nerd riot in the streets if you recasted.
I would have flipped out.
If you recasted, if you recast Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, or Johnny Bernthal, people are going to go berserk.
Yeah.
And so I think even to the point of how that scene landed in the movie, and it was, as much as I loved it, it was like that. Mm-hmm. I do think, or I'm speculating here, but I do wonder how much of that scene they did before even the legal issues were done or massaged out, because it kind of was not wedged in at all, but just very brief, very like, we want to introduce this character if we can, but if it's not ready, it's not going to screw up the timeline of the movie or something.
Yeah.
Because it was a pretty like abrupt cut from them being in the, you know, the cop at the police station, and
with
then
Sandy from Succession interrogating them.
Stewie.
Sorry, his business partner.
Yes. I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then to see like them just like do like a hard cut to being back at the apartment and you know, the whole brick thing like we just talked about, but it was. Oh, the crowd erupted then too. And it was like I was in my seat just like clutching the chair.
I'm so jealous. You guys had a rowdy theater. Like ours was you could hear a pin drop at our theater. We went and saw it in the VIP, which I think always naturally means that people are going to be a little bit more subdued, but
the bougie section is where you were. That is the issue. You got to sit with your fellow man, your common man.
And my blankie and my chicken fingers were having a great time at the movies.
Nice. I was gonna say, who cares? Yeah, you still lived it up in your own way. But yeah, that whole thing with Charlie Cox was so good. It was so good.
The next thing that I want to hit on with you guys is the relationship between Peter and Doctor Strange. Couple things. There was a couple red herrings in the trailer, specifically with Wong, who is the new Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah.
And how he's like in the trailer, he was like, don't cast that spell. It's too dangerous. And then like the whole fine, I won't, it was a complete red herring. Like that never happened in this movie.
Right.
I liked how they had the initial interaction between Peter and Doctor Strange, and he casts the spell gets screwed up.
Yeah.
They argue about whether to capture the villains, who we'll talk about in a second. And then they go to the mirror dimension, which was badass, and the score in the background of the mirror dimension. The score.
Did it not give you did it not give you like flashbacks of Mask of the Phantasm? Because it did to me.
And like Inception-y kind of things too. Like the mirror division.
Yes.
But then I like how Strange kind of exits the movie. Like I think that works.
Yes.
Like I think how Peter kind of traps him in there, and then you don't see him again for like an hour. And I do think that like that helped. It helped to sort of get him out of the way a little bit.
Yeah, because you needed that. You needed him in the movie to have the movie happen with the spell and everything like that. And I also like, you know, he was very consistent in his character. Like, this is the guy who was like, if it comes between me protecting the stone or like you two, Iron Man and Spider-Man, like I won't hesitate. So he was very true to that whole character. I think even removed from the relationship between Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, this movie did a good job, because what Marvel's bumping up against a lot more is, why didn't anybody else show up?
Yeah.
Where are the other guys? What's going on?
I've even joked about that. Yeah.
Right. This movie did a good job because you got Strange trapped in the mirror dimension by good math, and then you've got
You know what's cooler than magic? Math.
Yeah, that was a great line.
It was so cute. It was so cute. And then they've also explained that because of the reveal of his identity, that like Stark Industries is under like investigation, and they're going through, and so it's like, okay, and so that's why like Pepper Potts isn't coming to like help Tony's dear friend Peter. Like they did a really good job of explaining away why other people wouldn't have been involved, because they were all kind of tied up almost like via the law to like not be able to come in. So he really was on his own in this movie, which made a lot of sense. There were a few times where I was like, well, Doctor Strange is being harsh here, like when he was like, they're here because of you, and like whatever. But again, a movie's got a movie, and I think it is true to his character. Like his mandate as, I guess, the assistant to the Sorcerer Supreme now, or the second-hand man. It like has always preceded his like empathy for others, or his his ability to step in and help his fellow Avengers. So it all made sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Brad, your thoughts on Doctor Strange and his role in the film?
Yes. I know I gotta like watch myself right now because I'm so excited. Even as you guys are talking, I want to be like, yes, yeah, it's so good. So I'm like tempering myself. Okay. I loved it. I loved that Doctor Strange has kind of come in, at least in this movie, kind of came in as like his father figure, if you will, like as like what Tony Stark was in a way. Like he's kind of, even Doctor Strange, I think, has a line. I'm not going to get it perfect here, but it was something along the lines of like, when he was going to do the spell at the end, everybody who loves you isn't going to remember you. I won't remember you. It was something along those lines. And it was like,
yeah, I know.
Oh my God. And so it was very in the pocket for me as far as like the relationships that what we alluded to as well in previous movies, what they've created with all these characters. They've done all that back work. And yet you haven't really seen these two kind of come together other than in, Endgame and Infinity War. So it was very interesting to see that dynamic, where it was like older brother / father figure, where he was getting mad at him, but he was also like, he loves him and cares about him. So I thought that was a master stroke. And I also, like you said too, like when they were that fight scene where they were battling over the like, my God, the
mirror dimension where I'm in control.
Yeah. Like, oh my God, that was a master stroke of filmmaking.
Shout out to the scene too, where he's like, well, after you, like, I understand coming to me after you spoke to MIT and they didn't didn't review you. And he's like, I can do that. I can talk to MIT. And he's like, you didn't think to talk to MIT.
But he comes at him and he just moves the box out of the way. And he's like, you didn't do this?
Before having me brainwashed the entire world.
Yeah. Actually, I will say the one line that got a bit of a pop in my very quiet theater was, so, at the beginning, earlier in the movie, you have him say, we saved half the universe. I think we're beyond you calling me sir. And then later on, when he asserts himself a little bit more, he goes, call me sir.
Yeah.
Part of the theater was like, oh.
It
really got
he took it
really
back.
got
he
a
took
reaction.
It back.
So that was
anyways, to put a cap on it, like I could go on forever, but I thought the relationship building that they did there, building off of what they kind of created in Infinity War, etc., was beautiful. I thought they just kind of I'm going to keep using this word because I think that they did such a good job of massaging in all these things, and it could have been so heavy-handed.
Yeah.
So many things about this movie could have been heavy-handed, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
But that relationship was fantastic.
So that naturally segues us into talking about the villains, because it is the botched spell that brings the villains into this universe. Yeah. And so the villains, basically, it was the Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina show predominantly. Jamie Foxx was there for comedic relief.
He had his moments. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you had Lizard and you had
Sandman.
Spider-Man, it's me, Flint Marko. You had him peppered in, but it was predominantly about Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina, and those are the two I want to focus on. Willem Dafoe.
I know it's nuts.
I know. We've all just been waiting.
Oh
It's
my
nuts.
God, the scene. So first of all, I love the creative choice of let's ditch the silly Goblin Power Rangers mask and just let his face be the Goblin because he can do it.
He's so good.
Yeah, the part where he's like, Norman's not home, honey, and his face is like he basically becomes like all the him as like fantasy cast as like a Joker in some other like you see, that's what he's playing in that role. Like he's so like in his voice, his facial expressions, he's outstanding.
He fully kills it. He fully kills it again.
And they
more than even the first time he did it. Like it was like
he killed
it the first time.
Yeah.
He killed it the first time. Everybody loves him. But to see him come back and like double down on that performance and to see the true emotion on his face and to see that like you just said, ditch the mask. He doesn't need it. It's kind of cool. And there's a nostalgia thing there, but it's like, you got it. You got him in it for a second and he smashes it, whatever.
Yeah.
And then they move on and they give him the purple hood.
Yes.
And I was like, yes. And it's all tattered and ripped. I was like, oh my God, they're doing it. But then, to see him, even that look, and we'll get into this. Actually, no, I'm going to save it.
Yeah.
But like just everything he does with his face
it's so good.
is perfect. And the little like looks in the corner. I have to see it again. Just I'm going to throw that in there.
Rob, I feel like you're chopping at the bit, so I'll let you go first.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'll just say that, like his performance is unbelievable on many fronts, but the ones that I'll touch on is one, this man is 66 years old.
Yeah.
And I know there was a little bit of de-aging going on and like that, but like
a little bit.
But like I have no problem believing the physical presence also that he brought to this movie. Rob, I'm shocked. We tried to keep text messaging between this group to a minimum because we wanted this authentic conversation and we wanted to have our true thoughts. But Rob, I'm shocked that you have not mentioned to me yet that did they have someone from the WWE on that stunt squad?
He power bombs him through
like, oh my God, like he's DDTing him through the you can tell I grew up with brothers, so I know all the wrestling moves. But like the physical presence is just insane. And then like the faces that this guy turns, like it's so funny because if you kind of like just took like a screenshot of some of them, they kind of could almost look goofy on their own. But in the context of his insane performance, it's oh my God, like this movie would have really suffered had he not come back. I'm so happy he did. Like he's the main villain, of course he should be. Like
and he's the OG.
I struck the blow, but you
it's
so good. He's so good. Now I want to talk about Alfred Molina really quickly. Really funny, like when he's in the his initial fight with Peter on the bridge is really interesting and like it's entertaining, but he starts to really shine when he's actually captured and he's in it. He's making a joke about like he's just so angry and he's making a joke about Strange and birthday parties and all that kind of stuff. And when Peter like cures his octopus
chips
after she asks him May asks him if he wants salt water because he's an octopus. And you can just see the emotion and he's like, dear boy, I'm so grateful. And he's just like it's like you feel the emotion there, you feel
he's a great actor.
You feel the weight of the world come off his shoulders. Right?
It's like if you go back to when we were speculating about this movie, we all knew that he was going to be, or we thought he was going to be like sort of turned good. Little did we know that they all would be. But like he just does such a good job of that. Similar to Willem Dafoe in that they both have that like sort of Jekyll and Hyde thing, but like they both do such a good job of that, like of that very quick turn of like 1 minute you're so evil and then the next you're just like, okay, how's it going? Or vice versa. Like unbelievable. I could go on about those two performances this whole podcast.
No, me as well.
Like
me as well, because the fact that they both had like similar traits in having a split personality, like a very Gollum or Smeagol, whatever relationship with what they were dealing with, and to have them be similar and yet so different, because it was, again, it could have been, there could have been so much stepping on each other's performances, or people just showing up to get a paycheck. I know he made a joke about that. Clearly it was a joke. But there was so much heart put into this. And just to see, like I said before, to see the fact that it's like they could have phoned this in or just given a repeat performance of what they've done before, and to see them enhance what they had already created and made it more interesting without stepping on the other actors. I can only imagine what that sort of relationship on set must have been like, to have all of these guys on set. I probably would have wept. Just because you've got a lot of people doing masterstroke performances throughout this, including the young cast. My goodness.
We knew a lot going into this movie, right? Like they didn't confirm a whole lot, but we had an idea of what we were going to see for the most part. One thing that was kept pretty tight that I didn't see coming, I don't know about you guys, is May. May gets killed. And she is Uncle Ben. She delivers the great power, great responsibility line.
I'm not joking. Chills. Even talking about it.
Tom Holland's performance in this scene where he is like, oh my God, outstanding stuff. But I did not see, I really like how we just haven't done the same thing again in this. Oh my God. In this. Having
this is one of my favorite decisions that they've made. Because, and especially now that you've introduced this multiverse element and that we know that there are other universes, it's like, this Marvel's so smart. Oh my God. It's like, this is the way out.
I know.
This is the way out, guys. Because people don't want to see this. It's this delicate balance. They don't want to see the same thing over and over again. But then you also run the risk of like pissing some people off with not doing the classic strokes of these characters, Uncle Ben, blah, blah, blah. But when we know that there's a multiverse of possibilities,
correct,
then we can make it work we can do things that are different and go, you know what, Uncle Ben didn't die in this universe, but he died in another one. And in this one, Aunt May is the character that we've spent the time. I can't tell you how much I love this decision. And
me as well.
I hope there aren't people who are terrible and are like, Marvel's being woke or something like that. Because I don't think that's what this was at all. I just think it was like, you know what, like this, I've read this in a million reviews, so I'm not going to pretend that this was a original thought by me. These three movies were an origin story.
I saw this.
This is the longest origin story in comic book movie history, right?
Yeah.
And so
we'll touch more on that when we talk about the end of the movie, but you're right.
So it makes total sense that she's the one that like brings him into manhood. I loved this so much. I loved this decision.
And I know I've used this terminology already, but it was a masterstroke. It really was. It really was, to your point. Like, that was brilliant in so many ways, including the fact that, again, we had built up this relationship with Marissa Tomei's Aunt May, and just this relationship that she had with Happy, and, like that she was like the kind of the hot aunt. It was almost... Well, she was, or is.
It's true. They did make a conscious decision to make May hot in this iteration of
instead of
Marissa Tomei.
Senior citizen.
You're good looking. So okay, my point is that I didn't like what you said, Rob. You didn't feel that coming. You knew everybody was thinking like Toby's gonna eat it or Andrew's gonna eat it or whatever. And that would have been horrendous enough, but to not see that coming, and the person aside maybe from like Ned and MJ that means the most to Peter gets killed, and then for them to kind of go and feel the worlds kind of come together as far as like, oh my God, she's Uncle Ben to him.
Yes.
And we're getting this because there's been this prelude of like, oh, we're just skipping over the Uncle Ben storyline and everything else.
Or like Tony was Uncle Ben, and
exactly. Like we were massaging out this like, you know, we don't need to do this again and blah blah. But it was like, no, it hadn't happened to him yet.
Yeah.
And for there to be this like growth of like him being a boy, to him being, you know, in the first one, and then to him being an adolescent, to him now becoming a man, and with great power comes great responsibility, and for you to think she's okay and she's not okay, and
where's the tissue box, guys? Where's the tissue
no,
box?
actually, like I'm gonna choke up again. Oh, my theater was bawling, including me, and I'm fine with it. I didn't have my Kelly furnished blanket to dab the tears, but I sleeved it. We like, and it wasn't like just the little quiet ones where you're in a theater and you get like the little. No, you were hearing
it was like
like you were hearing weeping. But it was true, and like, oh my goodness, when Andrew Garfield, and we could go on for an entire podcast just on how great, or excuse me, not Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland, although he was excellent as well. Tom Holland's performance, he's a juggernaut.
Kids on top of the world right now. Kids on top of the world right now.
He is such a talented young man, and I know he's also just been cast in a Fred Astaire biopic. And it was like, anybody that saw Lip Sync Battle where he battled Zendaya, it's just like, this kid is so talented, and to see that raw emotion. Anyways, I'm gonna get choked up again.
Filled with
somebody
rage.
Else take over. Somebody else take over.
Rage.
Yeah.
I've been waiting to say this to you guys. If you had described to me ahead of time how Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire were going to be introduced in this movie, I would have gone, really? Like, we're gonna bring them in a comedy scene with Ned and MJ?
Yeah, that wouldn't have been it.
Home run. I wouldn't change anything about it. I wouldn't change absolutely anything about it.
No.
When Ned used the sling ring to open a portal, and you see Andrew's Spider-Man off in the distance, in my first it was like Justin Bieber just took the stage. Like, people were like, ah! And then when he walks through and pulls his mask off, people again were like, oh my God, it's him.
Yeah.
Such an amazing scene. And then they bring Toby through, and he's dressed like a cool youth pastor, and like, it's just
one of the greatest lines of the movie.
Yeah, it's just like, they come through, and the reason why they come through is because I just got the sense that he needs my help, and we've been through what he's currently going through, and we need to go and talk to him, and we need to tell him, like, you can overcome this. It's okay. And just like, Marvel does such a good job of adding like Ned's Lola in there to just make it like kind of funny, and like, it's so good. Let's talk about the three Spider-Men now. Like, many great moments between the three of them. Many great moments. Like the scene where they show up and they're like telling, like, all three of them are so emotional. And Toby's like, Uncle Ben died and I wanted him dead and I got what I wanted. And then it's like, I let Gwen fall and then I stopped pulling my punches. And just like,
that was such a there was so much
imparting this wisdom onto him, like, so good. And then you've got the great scene, the science scene with the three of them, and then they discover that Toby's webs naturally come out of his body versus the other ones have web shooters, and
such great banter. Whoever wrote that banter, or I don't know how much was left up to the cast to do a little, like, I'm sure they had guidelines, but I'm wondering if some of it was a little improv-y. because
I think
it was
the
excellent.
scene on the scaffolding in particular, when
Yes.
they're talking about, which villains have you fought? Like whatever they did, the whole
I want to
thing,
fight an
that-
alien.
yeah, that really felt in a great way of just like, go have fun. Like the three of you just go and like, and it to a point where I was actually like shocked at how long they let that go on. Like just in terms of like, it's like a 3.5 minute scene of just like joke, which I think in any other context might have felt a little like, okay, like, come on, we're at the climax of the movie. But because, and Rob, this goes back to like the point that you made way early in the podcast, is like, the history of these characters is there for us. So it just was fun. Like, it's just fun to like, let the three of them talk and to talk about like, oh, I suck compared to you guys. I fought a Russian guy in a rhinoceros costume. And then he's like, no, you're amazing.
You're like, amazing.
Just,
you know what part gave me, you know what line gave me the is when he said, I've always wanted to have brothers.
I was waiting to say it. And he grabs them and it was like this is everything we wanted.
I know.
This is it.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm so happy that, like, and I alluded to this earlier, like, I really thought, and we said it 100 times leading up to this movie, that, we were going to get the villains and we were going to lead up to a climax. And then the Spideys were going to show up and save the day. And Toby would take off his mask for 5 seconds and we'd be like, yay. And like that. There was no part of me that was expecting them to be legitimately supporting characters in this movie. Like the amount of
second act on something of
the
that
amount of time that we like, what a treat. Like, it's just that we
it really was
that much time with them. I that's what I mean by it's just like, guys, I have no criticism to give, because they got everybody back, and they got everybody back in a meaningful way. And not in a way that it felt just like, oh, good, Toby gave us a day on set, isn't that nice? Like, it was like, no, he's acting in this movie. Oh my god.
Correct. Well, the thing that I've been really soaking in about it was because there has been such, and I get it why a lot of movies do this, but there's been such a heavy-handedness to how we're presented with nostalgia. As far as like, if we bring a character back into something, or if we do, it didn't feel that way at all. Like, at all. It felt perfectly natural. And obviously coming off the heels of just seeing Aunt May die in the film, and you almost immediately jump to them coming through with Ned opening the portal. Also, can we just talk about the fact that the portals are the real hero of the MCU?
I was gonna say that every amazing moment, like top 5 moments,
Endgame, any of it, everybody's just like on their feet, like
no, Brad, I'll go one level deeper. It's not the portals, it's the sling ring.
Okay.
Because you can't open a portal if you don't have a sling ring.
That's fair. I'm gonna put that in my notes.
That's what Rob's asking Santa for Christmas.
Yeah, I want a
sling ring. But to the fact that it was such a huge reaction when Andrew walked in to and have that moment where that banter back and forth where he puts his hand up and he thinks that's enough, and they're like, no, crawl around. And he's like, I'm not crawling around. But then,
or she throws the bread at him and he's like,
just
work for bread.
But I wasn't expecting to feel so emotional when Toby walked through. And I did. Like, I actually got the lump in my throat when Toby walked through, and it, like, instantly I realized, not that I didn't before, but just doubling down on it, like, I didn't realize how much those early Spider-Man movies meant to me, because those came out when we were pretty young, like 2001, 2003-ish or whatever. And the superhero genre had gone through a massive lull. Other than, X-Men and then Spider-Man, like, they came out around the same time. But to have had that moment again, to see Toby come through, and he has a way of speaking that is so heartfelt, that it was like the way he was talking to them, and now he's the older Spider-Man, that it was just kind of like, holy shit.
Him and MJ made it work.
Him and MJ made it work. Like, I was so choked up, and I'm getting choked up talking about it even now, that it was it was presented in such a way that it wasn't like what you said, Kelly, where it was like, hey, here's Toby for a second. He gave us one day on set. No, they were in the movie. They were part of the banter. They were part of the discussion. They were part of the plan. It was such a well thought out plan, essentially, with this movie. And nobody, I don't think, is talking enough about the fact that Andrew Garfield.
Oh, Brad, I'm glad.
Got
I'm
his
glad you brought
day.
This. Brad
got his day.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you just brought this up, and I'm glad that you just covered Toby as well, because I did not want this show to end without saying this. Going into this movie, I think a lot of people would have said to you that their least favorite iteration of Spider-Man on the big screen was the 2 Andrew Garfield movies. And a lot of that was just the way the character was written, and he was too cool for school, and it just didn't work. And I myself have been like, I do not love him as Spider-Man. That does not, you said earlier that, Willem Dafoe came back and he was even better than the first time. Andrew Garfield, that's putting it mildly. Man, that guy can act his ass off. Like, he's so likable. In his 2 movies, he was so unlikable, and in this movie, he's so likable. Like, he's so good. He hits when he's interacting with his villains. The part where he catches MJ, you're walking that line where that could be so cheesy. That could come off so cheesy and so forced. He's such a great actor. Like, that movie, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, means nothing to me. I think that movie is terrible. I've only watched it a couple of times in my life because it's so bad. And when he catches MJ and like breaks down a little bit, I'm like, Gwen. Yeah. And it's because he's such a good actor.
I have to say, sorry, go ahead. Okay, I'll go. So I have to say, like, one thing that I was happy about as well, and it kind of ties back to 2 comments you guys said, is like, they had those nods, like that scene where it was like, he's getting this little redemption moment. We're nodding back to Amazing Spider-Man 2, but they didn't do it in this like horrible nostalgia way. Like, we didn't have this moment where it like did a quick flash to like, it was Zendaya and then it was Emma Stone and then it was Zendaya. They didn't do, like, I think they also practiced a tremendous amount of restraint in the way that there were some lines that were so on the nose, but again, I don't care. Like, when
that's for the GA though, Kelly.
No, but I'm talking about a line like, I'm something of a scientist myself.
Oh, love it.
I was like,
the whole crowd went, literally the entire crowd went, whoa.
Like,
I see
that
what you did
to me
there.
is like so silly. But this was not silly. Like, obviously it wasn't meant to be, but like it could have been. It could have been, to your point, Rob, where you're just like, oh, like, stop it. But they did it so tastefully.
You feel his pain. Like, it's like Toby is just kind of happy, semi-retired Spider-Man who is like, MJ and I figured it out. We made it work. And it's like, you feel Andrew Garfield's pain. He's like, do you have somebody? And he just goes like, like, I take my hat off to him, and
big time.
I'm so happy for him, because I don't think nothing about his 2 movies were his fault. It was all how it was written and how they
very rarely
it depicted, and it was not his fault. And he's so likable in this movie. I loved him. I absolutely loved him.
Yeah, and the thing that I think was so interesting was, I mean, we had a lot of people but that was one thing where when I saw the initial trailers come out, that was one of the original thoughts that I had at the time, that it was like, oh my God, if Andrew swings in and grabs MJ and saves her, like, now it's like, there was like this expectation now, and I almost hated the fact that I thought it was so, like, and a lot of people did, that it was so good, because I'm like, now if it doesn't happen, I'm gonna be bummed out. And when it happened, you got this instant hearkening back to, that was one of the things that they definitely got right in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, was that relationship between Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield. And very similar to now with Tom Holland and Zendaya. They actually have a relationship.
Mhm.
They did at the time. They're not anymore. But you know, there was an actual like love on set during the filming of this movie, and that was a very powerful through line during those movies, that you felt it. You felt that relationship. So to have the thought to go, well, this works so well, we need to kind of continue that that line of feeling, that line of thinking, to have him swing in and save her because he couldn't for Gwen, and to have him catch her and instantly get choked up, and for her to look at him and go, are you okay? Are you okay? Like this, I was like, no, but honestly, like it was such
It was wonderful.
Powerful moment.
It was wonderful.
It was wonderful. And to have the crowd have that feeling again, to like really come back, and you get that wave of like, oh my God, you are hitting on all of the notes. And they did it with all of them. They did it with all of them. And it was excellent. It was excellent writing, excellent producing, excellent acting, all of it.
I think all of our hearts stopped when Toby got stabbed, but I like the decision to not kill him though, because it would take away from the emotion of losing May. I do think killing Toby would have been a bit overkill. Like he didn't need to die.
No pun intended.
It felt better. It felt better. It
Thank
felt
you.
better.
I was like, is nobody going to appreciate what I just said? Okay.
It felt better.
Terrible,
to
guys.
see them kind of standing together, and it's like, oh, you're in so much pain and whatever.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. This movie is full of creative decisions that I really love, and this one is no different.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why everyone gets sort of taken back to their own universe is because Doctor Strange completes his original spell, which makes everyone forget that Peter is Spider-Man.
Correct.
Well, no, that Peter exists.
Just forget, who Peter is.
Everybody forget. Yeah.
So I love this. You can talk about the like creative, like in movie decision of why this is so good, but you can also talk about the business reasons why this decision is so good.
Yeah.
First of all, that is what really does make this feel like an ending of a chapter, like the like the Spider-Man home trilogy. And now it kind of ends. And the scene where he goes into the cafe and they don't remember him. Was anyone else a bit worried that like she and Ned were gonna like smooch there?
I did too. I thought so too. I was like, no. I was like, no, don't you guys
do this.
Smooch.
Don't put her and Ned in a relationship together.
No, I actually didn't think that. Yeah.
I thought that too.
So they make him forget, and he goes in and he sees how happy they are about getting into MIT, and then seeing the cut on MJ's eyebrow, which really makes him realize, like, with great power comes great responsibility, and if I'm going to be Spider-Man, it puts the people I love in danger. So the best thing for me to do is to let these two live their life and see what happens, and keep them safe, as to not knowing who I am, not knowing that I'm Spider-Man.
Right.
Then he goes and sews together like a new old Spider-Man suit with like the heavy blue and the heavy red.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a couple things I want to hit on here with you guys. One, I think that it's a really smart creative decision, because now you can essentially start from scratch in the next three movies.
Brilliant.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to leave Spider-Man going to space and behind. And I'm ready to watch him be more of the friendly neighborhood character and fight his classic villains like Kraven the Hunter and like that, which they've already cast Aaron Taylor Johnson and that sort of thing.
Who we may have gotten a slight glimpse of when he was when Doctor Strange was closing the
when the portal was opening. There was a Scorpion.
There was a
the
Scorpion
only one I was gonna
too.
say that was the one I saw the clearest was Scorpion, and then I may have seen Rhino. I don't know. I'm not clear on it because it happened so fast that I was like panning the screen trying to see who I could see, but that was
So what do we think of this creative decision? And while I'm pleased with it, I'm also cautiously optimistic, because this does leave the opportunity for him to kind of do his own thing now. And I just really hope that if that's what we're going to do, there is still some Marvel and Kevin Feige involvement. And the thing that we've speculated ahead of time is not going to be the case where Sony kind of takes him. Like it's already been confirmed that he will remain in the MCU, but to like what extent? Like if they do another Avengers movie, he's obviously going to be in that. But like,
so if I can jump in here. So one is that this maybe, I think not everyone on this podcast agrees with this, but I'm going to say it, that Tom Holland is my favorite Spider-Man. Like
it's very hard to say he's not.
He is my favorite Spider-Man, but
he is now.
But I can totally understand why people, particularly prior to this movie, had an issue with the fact that he was never Spider-Man, you know, down on his luck, not a lot of money in his pocket. He had his Stark tech. He was able to, you know, like it didn't, I can understand people's gripes with his stories being so tightly woven with the Avengers and Iron Man in particular.
Right.
This creative decision puts us back, like we're getting
OG
both.
Spider-Man.
It's an embarrassment of riches. We get both. We got to see this Avengers level Spider-Man, and we saw his origin through that, and the way that, you know, Tony and all that have, because now he's going to be this neighborhood version, but with all of the knowledge that he's gained from like going to space. It's an incredible decision. I think it is so smart, and I'm so happy. Like, you know, Rob, you and I talked about this on a past episode where we were like, you know, we're ready for him to age up a little bit. We're ready for him to go snap some pictures and be photographer on the street, Peter Parker. And like, that's what they're giving. It's so great.
Yeah.
And then also, I think this was in the Venom episode that we did. I talked about that I was a little worried about, you know, Tom Holland's future and things like that. I actually left this being way more optimistic about his involvement in the MCU and the future of it, because also if you're keeping tabs on everything that's happening in the MCU right now, this movie ends with a clip of Spider-Man in his street level suit in New York at Christmas time. We have Hawkeye in New York at Christmas time right now. We have Kate Bishop in New York at Christmas time right now. We have Yelena, and all of them are not very super powered characters.
Right.
And so I'm kind of interested in the fact, and then we've got Daredevil, and we've got Daredevil. So it's like we're actually assembling this next generation of people who are actually a little more grounded in a sense. But then, you know, you do, like, there is the Eternals and stuff in the background. So, you know, I'm going to have to see how this all plays out, but I'm actually like, this is really interesting. This is really interesting that this creative decision, I walked away going, they're giving us everything anyone's ever wanted. Like,
and he's classic. It's classic. Brad, we're gonna go to you in a second, but it's classic. Like, he's in his apartment where, like, I think everyone was also kind of hoping that it would be Mr. Dinkovich who was like, rent.
I legit thought that was gonna happen. Or what was the girl's name that brought him cookies and milk all the time? I was like, if she walks in, I'm gonna lose it.
Like, he's in his like small kind of crappy apartment with his using his police scanner with his new suit that he sewed together himself. And it is hearkening back. Brad, over to you.
That moment alone to see the like extra material just sitting on the sewing machine and knowing that he did it. And you saw, before you even saw him in it, you saw the vibrancy of the blue and the red. And it was like, oh my God. Oh my God. And then you saw him swinging around. Oh, I don't even want to, because you guys touched on it. And like, I'm just going to be reiterating the same thing. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
It was brilliant.
God,
I don't know how else to put it.
They're so smart.
Exactly what Kelly said. We got everything that we wanted. Anybody that's walking away from this that's going, they didn't do it, like, screw you, man.
That's my takeaway is you have just been given, you've been given intergalactic Spidey. You're being given street level Spidey. You've seen them team up. You're seeing them doing this. No complaints here, guys. Like,
no complaints.
You can't. They're giving us everything.
Yeah. If you want to like complain about like little things here and there and just saying like they made it, and like a, you know, like a productive, like, you know, going forward kind of way, fine. But like anybody that's complaining about the fact that we just got a very, very comic book nerd braingasm moments in throughout this movie, like you can't.
Throughout these three movies, throughout this like home trilogy.
Yes. And so it was, I can't say enough about it. And yet we've already divulged enough. I'm going to leave it at seeing him swinging away at the end of the movie in the very traditional, vibrant red and blue suit that he made himself.
Yeah.
The material sitting on it looked like a frame from a comic book. That's how it felt to me.
I love the idea that he would have used what he saw Andrew and Toby wearing to help him influence putting that suit together. I love that idea.
Oh, Rob.
Yeah,
Rob,
I love that idea.
That's an excellent point.
I think that there's so really quickly, because I want to talk about the two post-credit scenes, but really quickly, I do think that, like, yes, it's already been confirmed. We're getting 3 more movies with Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I think they're definitely going to, whenever the next Avengers movie, like I saw the Russos showed up to the premiere and everyone was like, Secret Wars. There's that. John Watts, who just directed these 3 Spider-Man movies, is directing the Fantastic Four. So I think it's natural. Spider-Man has always had a close association with the Fantastic Four. So I think it's natural that he shows up in that. So we have not it's so great because we've had this like story arc, and now that chapter is closed, and now we're beginning a new one, and it's really, really exciting. All right. Yeah. Let's talk about post-credit scene number 1. And on behalf of Kelly, I'd like to do what was going on in Kelly's brain after that scene ended. Dun, 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 dun. Celebrate good times. Come on. So here's what I want to know. Anyone who's watching this has seen it. Why did they do this? Like, I've been speculating that, like, not that I'm complaining, but like, we've been speculating that Sony is just like treating Tom Hardy and Tom Holland like action figures and doing that. Like, they just can't wait to go like this. Why do you think this decision was made? Because you essentially took Tom Hardy out, put him back in his own universe, and left the symbiote in this one. So I'm fascinated as to why this decision was made. Kelly.
I'm just gonna sit back and relax and enjoy Kelly. Here we go.
I'll tell you why, Rob. Money. That's why. And I don't care. I love it. Because do you know why? We can continue on with Tom Hardy as an anti-hero version of Venom, and he can headline his own movies, and it can exist over there, and they continue to make money, and they're pieces of garbage, and I won't see them. And guess what? I don't have to see them anymore because it doesn't matter. Bye. Then we get villain version of Venom in the MCU. So you're doubling down on a character that's got money-making potential. Oh my God. And you know what? I love it. I love it. Keep making your piece of crap movies over there.
It was
power to you.
It was literally, again, a masterstroke.
Yeah,
it was.
So happy.
They know that those movies are not great. As great as Tom Hardy is across the board, those movies are not great. And so, putting it mildly. And so to see them not ignore that he's there, and I mean, obviously we knew we were getting something because of how they ended Let There Be Carnage, but they did it in such a way that was like, here he is, he exists, we brought him back for a split second just so we can leave a little bit of symbiote here, and then we're gonna get black suit Spider-Man, and we're gonna get potentially a different Venom.
You gotta get first of all, they did enough Venom in that little sequence to make sure I never wanted to see it, because like, how long is that sequence? A minute? And let's go skinny dipping. Like, no.
I think I said to Rob before, because Kelly was the last to see it of us within like an hour or two. And so I texted Rob aside and I said, when that scene was starting, I was like, Here's the one and only black mark on this movie. And I was like, I just deducted a full point right there. I was like 99 on Rotten Tomato, not 100. And it was like, no, it went from me feeling like crap to yes, like you did it. You again,
you exercise some self-awareness.
Yes. And you went, okay, we're not going to abandon this because it's making us money. Fine. But we're also going to bring this back over here and go, here you go. Here's like the real, what we all were hoping for when Venom came out originally. And that relationship between Spider-Man and Venom, let's do that. And it's like, oh God, yes. Thank you.
100%.
Brilliant.
And I think a lot of people, myself included, I love the story of the symbiote infecting Peter. And I love the black suit. And I hope this time around, this is a whole other podcast for a whole other day, but like, I want this time around when he's infected to actually have the real black suit, not the crappy Toby one, which was essentially his other suit that he wears.
Just the black version.
Black.
Like the comic book one where the spider is massive on it. And like, like that. So hopefully we get that. All signs are pointing to, we are getting that. Well done. Now, one last thing go ahead, Brad.
I was going to say, because I know I think we skipped over it. So I need to say this really quick. I also, because we're still in that Spider-Man, all the different Spider-Man versions. We do need to bring up very quickly how Jamie Foxx threw out a little tease about Miles.
Oh,
Morales.
yes.
Because
we
my
know
theater
Miles
erupted.
We know Miles exists in this universe because in Homecoming, Donald Glover plays Miles' uncle, the Prowler. Yeah.
But it was just that extra little, like, this is happening. We can all speculate that it was going to happen at some point, but for just there to be this little extra in the biggest Spider-Man movie of all time to go, hey, there he is. Hey, we're getting him. It's like,
well, and I think the game, one of the things the video games has shown, like so in my prep to watch this movie, I've replayed the Spider-Man PS4 game, and there are definitely some similarities, integrations, like Feast, where Aunt May works in this movie, is a huge part of the Spider-Man PS5 game. Yeah. One thing that those games have also shown too is Miles and Peter teaming up and like working together. People love that. So that's another direction that this trilogy could go in. And whatever. Before we get out of here, let's talk about the post-credits scene, which was not a scene. It was a teaser trailer for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I watch everything that Marvel does like immediately. I will come clean and admit that I didn't love What If. I found What If to be really like, why am I watching this? Like, this is all hypothetical. Like, it's fine, but like, I didn't love it.
Yeah.
But in classic Marvel fashion, you now have to go watch the Doctor Strange episode of What If, because from what I took from this trailer is that is who the villain is in this movie.
Yeah.
Is mixed with Mordo.
Yes. But like, you have to watch that now. I thought this was really good. Like it looks really interesting. We knew Elizabeth Olsen was going to be back in this as well. And like, it's just, it looks, I thought it was pretty good. Like I watched it. I was like, yep, definitely going to be going and seeing that. So like,
it looked good to me. Like there's a little bit of, and you know, we all know about this. There's some controversy around this movie, just in terms of like reshoots and some challenges that they've had. Also really interested as we talk about Spider-Man that Sam Raimi is directing this one. So
interesting.
It is really interesting. So, you know, like it looks like a Marvel movie. Is Doctor Strange ever going to be on the top of my list of ones that I'm like, oh, I have to go to the theater? No, but am I going to go to the theater? Yes. So like, yeah, it looks great. Happy to see. I'm loving these like more like team up movies. It feels very authentic to the comic books and to the world that we've built. Like we said, it starts to become less and less believable that you wouldn't have these characters interacting. So take my money.
Yep. Take it now.
Brad?
That's it. I wish we were getting it tomorrow. Well, now I have to, like, I already know I have to see it again because it was It's that good. And if I'll leave our listeners with anything, please don't wait to see this at home.
Yeah,
Please go see this
it.
at the theater if you can safely. Go see it at the theater. This is why you go to the theater. And I've said that a few times about a few different movies, and I mean it for all of them. But something like this, especially, if you're a movie fan and you love that visceral reaction that you get from the people around you and the energy that you get from people around you watching something like this. And if you grew up when we grew up and you had these guys like Andrew Garfield and Toby and all of these characters, just go see it. It's worth it just to be around people feeling this good and this happy and this joyous to go see something like this. Go see it in the theater. You can
100%.
watch it at home later. Go to the theater. It's already crushing it in the box office, but go give them some more money because I know I'm going to again.
100%. I'm right there with you. I love this movie. It's I've seen it twice. It's like
It's
I
an
loved it
all-timer.
even better the second time. Like it's fantastic. All right, guys. I think we've overstayed our welcome on this week's episode, but hey, like when a movie's
Deal
like
with it.
this, you got to talk about it. And I when I got home from my first screening, I listened to a review of this movie that was 3.5 hours.
Woo!
While
Hey, we did pretty good then.
while I played the video game. So I'm in Spidey mode right now.
Oh my God.
Thanks everybody for checking us out. If you like what you see, hit that like and subscribe button below. Spread the word. Tell your friends. We really appreciate it. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.